What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin Magazine Live. Today is December 12th, 2022, and I'm joined by my co-host, Nolan. How goes it, Nolan?
Chris, as you know, I love life. I love life. Bitcoin's running, right? We got no worries. The network's still going. We had Kathy Wood this weekend saying, pointing out a fact that throughout all the craziness that happened in the past few weeks, Bitcoin didn't miss a beat, not even a beat. So, that's why we're here. We have still stuff to talk about, right? Beyond that, one of the biggest stories that we're tracking, we're here for news and notes, right? We're here for news and notes. One of the biggest stories we're tracking is the recent visit of Xi to Saudi Arabia, talking about energy markets and where they're going to actually form the markets for the energy created in the Middle East, exported to Asia. And it turns out they've chosen the Shanghai Exchange as well as the yuan as the settlement instrument. So this immediately becomes the largest ever competition for the dollar oil market on Earth. Why is that important? Well, because Bitcoin Magazine, May 18th to 20th in Miami, we're going to be covering energy like it's never been covered before in any other industry, and it's all going to be Bitcoin centric. We're here to help you be financially literate and energy literate. We're all about energy literacy. And having this type of market to compete now against the US dollar is a huge significance because it puts Bitcoin that much closer to being on the main stage to decide really how energy is traded around the world. We're going to keep covering the story as far as the ability for this BRICS coalition of energy and markets to actually compete against the dollar. We don't have that big hopes for them. Of course, we think Bitcoin's going to win the whole table. And that's the kind of stuff you're going to see. May 18th to 20th, it's going to be high-level energy policy, detailed energy policy. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin at the center of energy finance. We're going to be underlining things like we saw last week in Africa, Bitcoin being used to coordinate small hydro dams. We're also going to be covering stories like one of the biggest ones this weekend. We're not sure if it's real or fake, right? It's hard to trust anything out of fake news, and it was behind a paywall on Financial Times. So if it's that important, it must be real, I guess, behind a paywall on Financial Times. We know how real they are, probably leading the world in Bitcoin obituaries in the history of Bitcoin obituaries. But they did break news this weekend that we have invented cold fusion. I mean, wow, cold fusion. All of a sudden, right? We did it. Apparently we did it. Financial Times, we'll see. I've heard fake news along these lines before, but so far it looks like it's possible, and we're going to be covering all that kind of stuff, right? We'll know by May 18th to 20th whether or not the cold fusion story from Financial Times is fake news or not, but it doesn't matter. We're going to be covering small modular nuclear reactors, all kinds of stuff. We're going to be covering the grid, decentralized networks, and how Bitcoin fits into propagating them around the world. No ESG shit whatsoever. Still an energy show, May 18th to 20th. Biggest story of the weekend, this thing, but easy to miss. There's so much else going on, right? There's so much going on, especially in the crypto industry. Speaking of clown worlds, what's happening in crypto, Chris? Tell us, while we're all chilling back here, Bitcoiners watching everything change, watching clown world get unveiled to everyone, what's happening in the crypto world? How are they doing?
Well, in clown world, crypto world, might as well be the same thing. So it seems that the rabbit hole goes deep and the contagion goes deep. What do I mean by this? The block was secretly being funded by none other than man of the hour, SBF. SBF was funneling money to Block's CEO. Block is another media publication, a crypto publication, as Nolan pointed out. They not always favorable in terms of Bitcoin. They, I'd say a lot of their pieces were not very fair. They're in the crypto industry, but they're promoting a lot of other coins. Who else was not a fan of Bitcoin? SBF. He had a lot of the cryptos to promote. It was also interesting to note, maybe this is just hearsay, but CZ was calling out, it's interesting that they were very dismissive or abrasive towards Binance, but very favorable towards FTX. He's like, we never did anything wrong. We never had any bad blood, but it seemed, when your coffers are being filled by the guy that's competing against Binance, that remains to be the case. So a total of $43 million was funneled into the company without the newsroom's knowledge. So it was going towards the CEO, and then he was using it for whatever he saw fit. There was two different loans. One was of $12 million. One was of $15 million. This was for the backing of Block and doing a lot of projects they had. And then $16 million seems like it was directly beneficiary of the CEO of the Block. So he was basically just being $16 million that was given to just basically buy real estate. So very, very interesting. The money was funneled to its CEO from Alameda Research. So as we mentioned before, when the case was getting blown out, FTX didn't have a bank account. Their bank account was basically Alameda Research. When you were going to fund or send funds to FTX International, the address that you were sending to was Alameda Research LLC. So very, very interesting. Anything you want to add to this, Nolan, in this clown world, crypto world?
Well, yeah, we should point out that the block itself broke the story. So as far as having really a redeeming silver lining here, it's that even within the corporate media structure, even within their mandates, whatever was going on over there, you got to acknowledge the people who did break the story internally. It looks like that they didn't know, the journalists there didn't know. So there's a shred of dignity there, a shred of dignity. And I think everyone involved should be absolutely, despite the trouble. They did it to themselves, so we can at least take hope there's some little bit of sensitivity to the right and wrong left.
Yeah, I agree. And I forgot to mention that. I give them props for, they broke the story to Axios for Axios to report on, so I give them a ton of props. Unfortunately, it maybe have putting them out of a job, but remains to be seen, but we'll see.
There's lots of people out of jobs.
Yeah.
They say learn to code. They say go, it's hard. There's a recession. We get the Bank of America saying there's a recession, right? They're calling for a recession. We get Elon Musk, who this weekend also tweeted that if the Fed raises rates again, the recession will be greatly amplified. So that's our thumbnail today, really, the subtweet of Elon Musk going after Jerome Powell and aggressive rate hikes. Of course, in Bitcoin, we're here for either scenario, right? We like the concept of dollar milkshake, high US dollar, high performing US dollar. The rest of the world can't keep up. There's a big fiat war and Bitcoin is there. We also like the idea of running the printer hot again, right? Tails we win, heads they lose. So Bitcoin and Bitcoiners watching Clown World choose between death by one means or suicide by another. So we're here for the whole party, right? We're here for the whole party. But the Elon story, of course, continues to widen with all of the Twitter files. We'll get to that in a moment.
I think that the Twitter CEO is a better economist than the majority of economists out there. What do I mean by this? So November of 2021, so a year prior, Jack Dorsey infamously tweeted hyperinflation incoming. And then now we've got Elon Musk saying, if the Fed raises rates, the recession is going to get worse. And when you look at both of their comments or the comment section under those tweets, Jack was lambasted. They said, how dare you say hyperinflation's coming? You're a liar. I think, okay, he was the CEO of Twitter, but he's also the CEO of Block, not the media company, but Block, his subsidiary of Square, Cash App, all of those companies. So this guy has on Cash App alone, I think 70 million active users and 30 million per month. So he was seeing the prices, or at least the rates being exchanged through Cash App. And he definitely saw the rate of that probably increasing, when you're paying your friend back for dinner or, you're just paying a vendor and the rates of that is increasing. So he definitely saw like people were lambasting him. I'm like, guys, I know he's the CEO of Twitter and a media company, but at the same time, he's got the data, or at least he knows the data behind the scenes. So.
And one of only a handful of new banks to even come to America since the great financial crisis, right? There's only a handful. There's Kraken, there's Caitlin Lon's thing, and there's him, right? He is one of the 5 or 6 banks that have been newly formed and chartered since the financial crisis. And so he knows what the overnight rate is. He's allowed to get it, right? He can go to the discount window and get the freebies, right? He's at the trough if he so chooses. So when you're at the trough, and trust me, at Kraken, that was something I actually did, was look at our relationship with the Fed Reserve and even look at our what we call a master account. We never got it set up, and that's why there's a legal case and all that. But did you know the Fed Reserve actually has like a user manual and like an onboarding thing for customers? And no shit, the discount window looks like a payday loan website. It's like 10 minutes, $25 million minimum, no like documentation needed.
That's ridiculous. I never knew that.
Thing, I couldn't believe it. I got the thing when I was there at Kraken, and they said like sign up, and it was just, oh my God, they have like UX UI. The Fed Reserve does. They have a website, account holder stuff, manual, all the stuff you'd imagine a bank would have. And I'm telling you, that discount window, and Jack knew it, looks like a freebie payday loan place. But now, everyone this weekend triggered because of the Matt Taibbi Twitter Files 3. We saw Twitter Files 2 as well from Barry Weiss at the end of last week, and then Michael Schellenberger's Twitter Files 4. So really everything in the lead up to Trump being taken off the platform, and a lot of people saying they see a crime, right? Even Elon Musk tweeting Twitter was a crime scene. So I'm trained as a lawyer, but absolutely not a lawyer. Here's what I saw. I saw people who were 100% believing they were doing the right thing, acting in a way that they thought was good, even if it's wrong, right? I'm talking about the Twitter employees. Unfortunately, lying is simply not a crime. People said, well, when Jack Dorsey lied to Congress, well, I mean, lied to Congress. If he believed it was true, it's not lying, right? If you believe something is true, it's just not lying. And there's no crime unless you mean it. You actually have to mean it, right? The whole point of the legal system when it comes to just a fine versus going to prison is whether you meant it or not. I mean, it literally, intention is 100% of the issue. And so I can't imagine how everyone out there was hallucinating, seeing that Jack Dorsey was somehow guilty in all of this. And I understand there's a narrative bias that I could be under because he's a Bitcoiner and I'm on the same team and there's tribes and this and that. But I just didn't see it. I just did not see it. Now, that doesn't mean there weren't crimes. I think for a human being, it's in a human being in America, it is innocent until proven guilty, right? We can all agree it's innocent until proven guilty. I would want the same level of assumption given to me as I would to anyone else in this country. However, does the government get the same privileges? I don't know. Does the government get to be innocent until proven guilty? We saw many participants infiltrating Twitter. That's been unveiled in all of these Twitter files. Does the government get the presumption of innocence the way a person did? I think in the environment we're in, not so much, right? I'm into flipping the presumption of innocence when it comes to the government or corporations or a bunch of other entities that are collectively formed under this whole fiat orchestration system we have. And I would say that in the terms of the FBI and the national security apparatus in America that we know has been spying on people, it's now flipped. We should have the assumption of guilt at this point, especially given all the information we've seen from the Twitter files. So I don't personally see criminal wrongdoing in the part of many of the Twitter employees. Whether or not I agree with them, that's not the point, right? Not the point. I disagree with their politics and a bunch of other stuff, but that's not what's at issue here. What's at issue is, was it a crime scene or not? Yes, it was a crime scene in my, quick legal analysis here. But for the government entities involved, for the actual Twitter employees, I say let's do an amnesty. Let's let the J6 people trade them, just like the basketball player for the arms deal. Let's trade J6 people for the Twitter staff, and let's be done with it, right?
Yeah, I agree. You're talking about, Bitcoiners sleeping soundly at night and, being all right. And then you talked about, potentially taking things or people off Twitter. Well, the only thing that I really recommend is taking your Bitcoin off exchanges. And the new hardware wallet hitting this, or not new hardware wallet, but a new way to buy the hardware wallet is the Blockstream Jade. So it's a hardware wallet based out of Blockstream. They're the creators of it. And you can now buy it on Amazon. So you can get 2 free day shipping with Amazon Prime. And Adam Back caveated the tweet that said, if you buy a Blockstream Jade on Amazon, make sure to source it from the official Blockstream store. Be careful about unauthorized resellers for supply chain issues and risks. You can always, if you don't want to dox yourself or basically KYC yourself that you're buying a Bitcoin device in being an adversarial mind, you can always build your own with my favorite project, Seed Signer. So I think it's a great device that you can build your own. If you buy a Raspberry Zero is the one device they use. I know they're kind of out of stock right now. And then the different components, you can 3D print even the case for it. You can build yourself your own Bitcoin hardware wallet without anyone knowing it. Obviously, you can do a hot wallet. You can do this very easily by downloading Bitcoin Core using Tor on your own laptop. So there's ways to acquire your Bitcoin very secretively and not dox who you are and basically get a KYC device. So just want to say, if you're looking for Christmas presents potentially, you can buy yourself a Blockstream Jade and give it to family and friends, or you can build it yourself. Nolan, anything you want to add?
Yeah, that experiment that people use, and it's looking like they're doing it with AI more and more now, where you can talk to an old version of yourself, and it's like the most convincing thing for saving for retirement and stuff. They even say seeing a picture of yourself older will help you be more conscious of what's going to happen in the future? Well, everything you just said, right, about privacy and maintaining your own capacity and sovereignty when it comes to controlling your financial wealth. Well, things like this can happen. Look at this New York Times, this case with SBF and FTX and the class action lawsuit. We've got the New York Times, Bloomberg, Financial Times, Dow Jones, all made a motion to dox the confidential information of the customers and personal information of all the individuals involved in that class action lawsuit. So imagine, it's not even so much that they lost their money. It's now, even by trying to take the analog legal court recourse system to get some satisfaction, they're just going to get doxxed and just going to get everything divulged. So, you know, it's like one of those things. See a picture of yourself when you're older, read this story, and then listen to what Chris is talking about as far as a wallet, because this could be you. This could be you. You don't want to be that, right? Again, that's the whole point of our show in Miami. It's about financial literacy, and not the type of financial literacy like go invest in this thing and then you'll be rich if you don't drink coffee and all that kind of crazy shit, right? It's more fundamental than that. It's about how to organize your financial life, even from a psychological point of view, right? How to extend your time preference, how to understand saving and the ceremony that can go around saving and all those kinds of things. And of course, as we mentioned, energy literacy, right? Also important. And if we don't think about these things, if we don't think about the weighing of them, we're going to end up like the EU now. Chris, this is an unbelievable story, right? Just unreal.
Yeah, so Edward Snowden tweeted out that this is absolutely tyrannical. The EU is trying to outlaw any cash transactions over 10,000 euros, which at the current rate of inflation will probably buy you half a shawarma in a decade. Those are his words, not mine. I think that was very funny. They're claiming this is to protect you. And then he even caveats at the end, to protect you. So 10,000 euros. Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. Because here's the thing. This is the same. These are the travel rule people, FATF, you know, FinCEN and FinTrack, all these motherfuckers, right? Because people don't have any sense of financial literacy or even an idea to understand how these globalist institutions work. Look, this is what happens when you don't even have the capacity to do cost-benefit analysis and look at these things from all angles. Do we even understand that we gave up Hong Kong as a Western democracy, or as a place where common law would be applied and where money and markets could be free? We gave that up to satisfy the same organization. We just gave it up. The whole idea of the original 2019 Hong Kong protest about the deportation of criminals to face Chinese law if they were in Hong Kong was actually presupposed and coordinated by FATF, which China was the president of in a turn which you get every 9 years. It was their turn as president, where they created a report to say that Hong Kong's major problem in its legal structure was that it didn't have extradition to mainland China for money laundering. For money laundering. It was the money laundering of all of it that created this situation in the first place. And so I guess we just give up Hong Kong. And guess what? These guys never arrest anyone anyway. They don't even catch anyone. Their whole big plan was that $10,000 check, the $10,000 voucher or whatever thing you sign when you fly, right? That's their whole plan. That's it. That's all they got. Right? It's the $10,000 reporting, and now they're going to go one further and say $10,000 transactions, right? Are they arresting anyone? Are they catching money launderers? I guess there is no money laundering because they don't seem to care, right? So the good news is it's going to drive more people into Bitcoin. We're the only solution to this. There is no tweaking of the $10,000 money laundering thing. There is no getting along with the money laundering infrastructure around the world. These people have to take a hint. They're not going to deputize our infrastructure to do their job. Get your asses on the job. If you want to catch criminals, catch them. We're not tattling on anyone. We're not building a thing to tattle on anyone. It's not going to happen. They're going to have to get off their asses, do police work again, or else just fade and cry and whine and bitch and moan and complain, right? But sooner or later, we're not going to have to pay attention to them anymore. We've already spent enough on these morons. We gave them Hong Kong, for God's sakes, right? Now Europe, they might just get rid of them. They're going to follow this too. It's only the people who are going to be in Bitcoin that are not going to fall under the sway of these folks. And in the end, we're going to destroy them. So we got to get rid of this thing. There's no living with it. There's no getting along with it. They don't do anything. They pat themselves on the back, never catch anyone. It's a scam. It's going to be done soon.
Yeah. Speaking of not getting along with or hate losing power, that seems to be the FBI's case. And Edward Snowden that knows a thing or two about the FBI. So the FBI calls the end-to-end encryption deeply concerning. What do I mean by this? So Apple announced about a week ago that they were going to be updating or improving their users' data privacy. So Apple was announcing that end-to-end encryption is coming to even more sensitive types of information, such as iCloud data, including device backups and messages. So the FBI basically caveated and warned Apple that they were not in taking advantage of this. Their reasons were, well, criminals can use this, people can talk privately, people can coordinate attacks, domestic terrorism might uptick because of this. Apple said they're going forward without it, regardless of the FBI's comments. Maybe that remains to be seen whether it changes or not, but very, very interesting. And I think it's a big win for the privacy community. I know so many people have iPhone devices, at least here in the Western world. Nolan, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's about time Apple starts to get a win. It's been a few weeks of just loss after loss, the most embarrassing one being the Chinese app update that prevented people from using the airdrop in order to participate in the protests. So, as long as and the days it took for them to say that they weren't going to compete or kick Twitter off of the App Store. So this is definitely a good thing, right? We use these apps. I'm still always skeptical of the capacity for end-to-end encryption to even to just go off from a company like Apple to assume we have it, I think is already an error, right? They might say, and then there's a fight with FBI, and then, oh my God, a few years down the road, we're going to find out we never had it, right? It was never there in the first place. So I continue to operate under the assumption that they're all lying and that I can't really trust it. But as long as it looks like there is, at least from an architecture point of view, from when I look into it, it looks like it has a little more protection, which is fine. Hopefully the folks in China don't get an app update again that would prevent any further trouble from breaking out there. We'll see. It reminds me of this expression, right? So there's an announcement, the FBI, this old saying, you don't have to tell someone you're famous. People who say, oh, I'm famous, right? Well, Bill Clinton famously used this one once where he said, the president of the United States still matters. Right? And everyone's like, well, yeah, you have to say it. Well, I think CZ has fallen into this trap now, right? CZ has fallen into this trap where CZ's telling everyone, hey, calm down. We have reserves. Hey, we have reserves. Well, CZ, I got to tell you, if you got to sit around and tell me you got reserves, I don't know. Are you famous? Are you telling me you're famous, CZ? CZ, are you telling me you're famous, right? He's certainly famous. I don't think he has to go around and tell people he's famous. I didn't see a press release from CZ saying, hey, guys, I'm famous, right? We did see one from CZ saying, hey, guys, don't worry about your money. We have proof of reserves. Hopefully he's right. He's got a lot of customers, and hopefully it's fine. But again, the crypto meltdown is something that probably has to happen and that Bitcoiners have long predicted and are psychologically ready for. So I don't think this would be a big surprise.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy, like the irony of it all. So also news broke this morning that Binance and CZ potentially, the U.S. Justice Department is debating whether they're going to charge them over money laundering charges and basically breaking sanctions. So
That's the FATF guys again. We
yeah,
love them. Yeah. So they don't have any time for SBF. Who cares about him, right? He doesn't matter. But this CZ son of a bitch out there, go get him even if he has no American customers, right? Is that the deal?
pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of exchanges and taking it off the exchanges, we talked about it a couple times in the show, the blockstream Jade and just taking it off. Well, Youssef of Paxful he sent a letter to his 11 million customers and basically saying he was telling his clients to take custody of their Bitcoin, take self-custody of it. He says, not your keys, not your coins. And he was basically advocating. He's like, well, I love our customers, I'm grateful they use our platform. It is in their own best interest to take the Bitcoin off the exchange. I thought it was a very powerful letter. It was a very great letter. He also caveated that currently Paxful, you can use Bitcoin, ETH, and a couple other cryptocurrencies, as well as fiat currencies, obviously. And he said they're working to remove ETH from their marketplace. He said the revenue is nice, but integrity trumps all. So being integral in his letter to his customers saying, take self-custody of your Bitcoin. He even put his Twitter handle and the company's Twitter handle. He's like, you can email us, whatever. If you don't know how to do it, we will help guide you through that process. That was very cool. And then also talking about integrity. I know there was a couple other cryptocurrencies that I think you can pay on there, but it's interesting that he singled out ETH individually. It'd be interesting to see in the coming months or coming weeks if he removes the other cryptocurrencies. Obviously, he's a business that still runs on fiat partially, so I think he'll still accept those, but maybe in the long run, that's what he's gearing towards. Nolan, anything you want to add there?
Well, I haven't looked at nationalized Bitcoin markets and volume flows between countries as much as I probably did 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I could have told you, I could have market sized every country and their exchange. But at the time, and I don't have any reason to believe it's not the case, that Paxful was the biggest Bitcoin player in Nigeria. And so in some ways, you got to remember that Nigeria, given the conditions there, how Bitcoin's growing, is kind of the head of the spear. It's kind of the most evolved state in a certain way. There's other things that are much more evolved around the world and all that, but a way that the market and the service providers can interact, because the government is such a failure, because they tried to ban it, because it's become such a premium tool to counter all these troubles, that we see the price in Bitcoin in a bull market in Nigeria right now. It's not relative to the US dollar there, it's relative to their own money. And relative to their own money, Bitcoin remains in high demand. So I think it's great that we see a little into the future, where Bitcoin is picking up a lot more of the institutional failure and the slack around you, right? That's always the argument I made. Yeah, fine. If you have a bunch of Wall Street people who want to just do Series 7 style quant trading and also want to be computer science engineers at the same time and also want to run optimized crypto trading algorithms, yeah, maybe some other fucking random chain is fine for you, right? Maybe for you, but we're talking about a world that has to radically change and radically alter and get rid of so much of the financialization that brought us into this hellhole that we're in. And a place like Nigeria, a little ahead of the game when it comes to Bitcoin's role in everyday life, and really, I think, a prism into the future. So I think you'll hear more people saying what Ray said in the future, probably around the time of our next big bull market.
Yeah. So I guess I'll leave it off. We hope to see you in Miami, May 18th through the 20th. Talk about energy, talk about Bitcoin finance, talk about self-custody. You can use the code BMLive to get 10% off your tickets. And we also have the Orange Party issue released last week or a couple weeks ago. You can use BMLive to get 10% off your subscription for that as well. It's a beautiful magazine. Talks about, single voter issue of Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. So Nolan, thanks. This has been a great show. Anything else you want to add?
I'm good, man. Say everyone we got shows coming up today. I've got the breakup tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. every day, 8 a.m. And we'll be here again with you at noon.
Have a good one, everyone. Peace out.